Welcome to Pure Mind Magic, the show to evolve your mind. Our mind is the most powerful thing we have, but no one teaches us how to use it. When we find out how, we're ready to create magic in life and in business. Learn real mindset secrets from brilliant minds around the world to change your mindset and income level forever. With every decision you make, you create your future. What is your next move? Now, welcome your host, international magician, speaker, and podcast performance consultant, Jennifer S. Royal.
Hi, this is Jennifer, and welcome back to Pure Mind Magic. Everyone loves secrets and knowing secrets, and you know that magic is all about secrets and also keeping secrets, and it's the same in business. So when you know secrets no one else does, you definitely gonna win. So it has to do with knowledge, it has to do with tools, with strategies, also with contacts, all that will propel you further. Today, we are talking all about influencer marketing. So digital marketing is so important, and no matter where you are and what you are doing, when you are in business, there is no way around digital marketing. But it can be really overwhelming because there are so many possibilities, so many channels, platforms, everything, and you have to have a plan and find your way through. So I'm also dealing with that, and I decided to start with this podcast before I do a YouTube channel to focus all my energy and all my intentions on this platform here, only audio so far. But hopefully I'm about to change that as well. So influencer marketing, I found a real expert on that. And when you are a YouTuber, you are an influencer. When you have your following, the same goes for bloggers, obviously, and I think also for podcasters. Yes, so it depends on how many people you can reach. So this is a very awesome position to be in when you have an audience that you can share. So this brings you in a very good position. Looking from the other side is like, how can you reach out to those influencers to get your message, your product, your book out into the world? So we all know the more eyeballs you get on your product, the better. And my guest today, Suana Yee, who is the CEO of Digital Everything Consulting and a real expert when it comes to influencer marketing and how to approach it. So we will talk about all of that in detail. And the very cool thing is, you know, that I'm such a big fan of online courses and learning all the time, every day before I go to sleep. I just need something new for my mind to expand my mind. And she created a tremendous course on this whole influencer marketing subject that is about 8 weeks, and you will learn everything from scratch in this course. You can go in your own pace, whatever you prefer, work your way through, and you will learn the skills on how to approach influencers and use influencer marketing to really, really become successful. And for those of you who already touched on the topic, know that this can cost you up to $10,000 a month when you work with an agency in that. So the best way is you get the skills and get the skills working for you. There is a link in the show notes below this episode in the text where you can enroll today in this course, start learning, start implementing, and start getting more sales and success for your business. So Suana Yee will reveal a few of her secrets, how we can approach those influencers, and also how to come up with an influencer marketing roadmap. So you will learn a lot. And also she gives us some insights on the whole affiliate thing and also the click per mil CPM model, so that you have some numbers in your head. Maybe when you are an influencer and you are wondering how much you can charge potential sponsors and other people that would love to use your channel or website or blog or whatever to leverage their message. So this is quite an intense episode with Suana Yee talking about all these details, but you will learn a lot. So buckle up and let's welcome her on the show. Here is for you, Suana Yee. Hi, Susana. Welcome to Pure Mind Magic.
Thank you for having me.
So cool to have you on the show today, and a great topic that I'm learning as well at the moment. And maybe we could say it's like a magic marketing trick. So it's kind of new, and I think it can play really big. So we will talk about influencer marketing, where you are an expert on. But Susana, you can describe this best. Please give our audience an introduction.
Sure. So influencer marketing is not that new, but it's newer in the sense of the platforms that are being used. When I started doing influencer marketing, it was blog marketing back then, where every influencer had a blog. Now, a lot of influencers don't have blogs, but they mostly have platforms where they are very well known, such as Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. A lot of them concentrate on one or two platforms. So that's why they're called influencers. And some of them are influential in their, in the lifestyle field, or, nutrition, or they're athletes. And a lot of people are actually influential in their field of work. So there are influential medical doctors, influential makeup artists. So that's why they're called influencers. It's sort of a new category where people are becoming influential, as opposed to in the past where people were influential for some general categories such as fashion or things like that.
I see. And maybe, Susana, can you describe a little bit your work? What exactly are you doing?
So my work with influencer marketing is to help brands bridge the relationship and create campaigns with influencers. So for example, if there is a company that sells electronics and they want to find influencers in that space to help talk about their products to their audiences, I will help a brand find the right influencers for their target audience, create the relationship, help them negotiate the relationship, onboard them, and help the brand create a campaign and a strategy to make sure that they get the results that they're looking for.
Very interesting. So what would you say, what is needed to really become an influencer for everyone interested listening right now?
Anybody who wants to become an influencer should really be an expert in the field of their expertise. And we're getting to the point now where being a influencer in a particular expertise, like a niche, is really important, because there's so much noise out there now in the digital space. And in the world, that if you're just a general everything influencer, you're not going to get the attention that you could get if you niche down to something that you're very passionate and an expert in.
Makes perfectly sense. So let's look at it from the other side. You were describing that you work with big brands, helping them find the right influencers. But what about when someone listening is maybe a coach or author or creates another kind of digital products? How can they approach an influencer?
Well, depending on the niche of that coach, that's where they should concentrate. So for example, if the coach coaches about nutrition, then they should work with influencers who are interested in health and wellness and nutrition.
Makes sense, yes. So, Susana, because you are the expert, can you maybe share a few numbers on what budget you have to calculate with when you want to get into influencer marketing?
So I think the most important thing to realize is if you do it by yourself, you will save the money of what you would normally pay an agency. An agency normally would charge a retainer, between, depending on where you are in this part of the country and depending on how big your company is and how big the influencer agency is, it can average between $5,000 and $8,000 a month. And the reason why is because there is a lot of legwork involved. It takes a lot of time to find and target the right influencers, and also to onboard them and create the campaign, create the target strategy, and also work with the brands to figure out where they're supposed to be using that content and amplifying it. So it's a process that can take about 8 weeks from beginning to end to just create the campaign and start the campaign. And so that's what people have to realize. But it's a very powerful marketing tool, because when you work with these influencers, they come with their own audience and they also create their own content. So it's a really great platform, because these influencers they're sort of like a one-stop shop, if you will. You don't have to hire a copywriter, you don't have to hire a videographer, a photographer, or anything else for that matter, and they come with their audience. So it's actually a really good way to market your products.
So true. So a little similar to podcasting, because podcasters also have like a platform and an audience. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely. I think podcasters are in a platform where they also are influencers in their space, and it's a great new area that suddenly has become really well recognized for that reason, and I think it's great.
Cool. So one reason why you are on the show today makes sense. So Susana, let's see, when let's stay with the example of a coach or a brand new entrepreneur. So when they are looking to get into influencer marketing and working with an agency, so how is it working? Does the agency like have their own database and just researching there, or do they really go out and approach the perfect match influencer for that very client?
I think the best thing for an agency to do, and if they are really understanding the whole process and the client, they really should be reaching out to certain influencers in the niche target market for their particular client. A lot of agencies do have influencers that they normally work with, and a lot of these influencers are normally more general lifestyle type influencers that are popular, and that's great. However, if there is a specific niche that they can reach out to, maybe they can do a combination. A lot of times they do have people that they normally work with, and there are databases where they can search. However, some of the more well-known influencers who work often and are effective and good at what they do, a lot of times they don't need to join the platforms or the databases because they are getting enough work.
Of course, yes. So the good thing is, Susana, that you mentioned that it is quite expensive. So it depends on from where you are looking, but $5,000 to $10,000 a month. You have to have this as a budget to really work with an influencer marketing agency. But what's so magical is that you created a special influencer marketing course that teaches people how to do it. Can you give us some insights on the course?
Sure. So I've been working in the space for a while now, and what I've noticed is every company sort of comes across the same issues in terms of what the methodology is and how to search for the influencers, how to target them, how to create the campaign, and how to onboard them, and what all the rules are with the Federal Trade Commission, as well as legal documents, and just all the time that's involved to do this, and the tracking and the amplification. And what I realized is there are some common questions and issues that are in a brand or a company. And so I developed sort of a methodology or a roadmap, if you will, with modules and lessons and videos and templates that I've used over the years to help organize this process and walk the brand on the brand side of the company through. And as long as they have someone they can assign to working on the project, they can really do this on their own with the guidance of these tools. And if they need, they can also reach out to me and have additional help.
That sounds really helpful when you are brand new in this field. So, you know that I, as a magician, can't reveal magic secrets on this show. So I always try to make my guests reveal their secrets. So, Susana, can you share some secrets on how to get started, how to reach out? What is like the secret sauce to connecting with an influencer and getting them interested in your product or service?
I think the secret really is that they're people, right? So you should really approach it as a people network. As like when you go to a cocktail party and you meet somebody and you introduce yourself and you let them know who you are and they find out who you are and they are, so it's really a conversation, a two-way conversation. And the best way to do it is to find the influencers that you think resonate with your brand and start a conversation with them either through social media or through email and find out what their interests are, because when it comes down to it, they started these platforms because of passion, and then their passion became a job, or some of them have it as a part-time hobby, depending on where they are in terms of their following and how much they're working. But they won't do something most of the time unless it resonates with their brand and they believe in it. So it really has to be a conversation where you engage with the influencer and they learn about your brand and they feel like they can work with you.
That makes sense. So the next question would be, Susana, what are the best places to look for influencers? Of course, it's depending on the field you are looking for, but what would you say from your standpoint as an expert? What is a good place to research them?
A good place to research them are usually on the social platforms where you think your target audience will be. So if you think your target audience is going to be on LinkedIn, then look for them on LinkedIn. If you think your target audience is on YouTube, look for them on YouTube. If you think your target audience is on Facebook or Instagram, look for them there, or Twitter. They have to be where your target audience lives, because that's where you'll get the most effective targeting. So start there. And then if you're a bigger company, obviously you go wider and you can do more on more platforms. But as a smaller niche brand, usually I suggest start there.
That's a really good idea. So to like do a reverse engineering before you even get started and looking in the wrong place for the wrong influencer for your product in the end. So you were mentioning, Susana, that you do like influencer marketing campaigns. Can you describe a little bit what that looks like and how the workflow is here?
So the campaign is basically, you should decide from the beginning what your budget is that you want to pay each of your influencers based on their following and based on what their general numbers are. And in my course, there are sort of charts and stats to show what the industry standard is for paying each type of influencer for each type of following. And I think that's important. We, in time over the last few years, we've seen that everybody, generally everyone has agreed in the industry what the scale is to pay influencers. And so first you go by that guide and you decide what type of budget you want to spend, and then you divide it up by what types of influencers you want to target. So, if your target audience is 3 categories, you pick those 3 categories and you split it up between how many influencers in each, and then you create a campaign based on that. So the campaign can be something as simple as asking the influencers to drive traffic to your site, or you can give them call to actions to make sure that they drive their target audience to your site for a certain action, sign up for an email, or if there's a coupon code you want them to use. But always start with the goal in mind and then create the campaign that way. And then from there, after they've created all that content for you and they're driving traffic to your site, you want to make sure that you also own that content and you utilize it on your end to amplify it as well, because you cannot just depend on the influencer to drive everything to you, because now you own that content. You want to make sure that it also is carried over on your side to your audience, and they see that these influencers are also talking about your product to their audience. So that's sort of I think it's a double bonus, that you have influencers who are talking to their audience about your product, and then you can also take their information and use it on your own networks.
Very valuable advice here to keep that in mind while going along and creating campaigns in influencer marketing. And Susana, you mentioned that there is like a guide to pricing, what you pay an influencer. And I know from podcasting, it is working normally with the CPM model, like clicks per mil per 1,000. But can you give out a few numbers on where to start when someone decides and has the time to put it into to get started on their own? So what do they have to calculate with to, just get started, maybe with an influencer that is not so much known? So to get started somewhere, what budget do they need for it?
It's also cost per 1,000. So if that influencer has 50,000 followers, you would pay them $500 for that platform. So it's definitely still cost per 1,000. And you then work from there on other different platforms that you want them to work on for you, or if you want them to do additional work for you, like a video or something like that, then you negotiate that in. And there are ways where you can sort of, if you ask them to do more, you can do a bundle pricing and that kind of thing. So that's always negotiable, but you want to start from the cost per 1,000.
Very helpful advice. So to make it clearer here on what you have to keep in mind when you start. So is it then like the same, whether it's a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, or a social media platform like Instagram or Twitter? So is it always like this CPM model, or are there other verifications?
For the most part, yes. For the blog, sometimes you can negotiate a different pricing depending on the traffic of the blog, and but we usually go around by the same model. So there are certain blogs where they get a lot of traffic, and depending on what's that's worth to you, you can calculate that out accordingly. But I've seen that it's pretty standard across the board.
Okay, very good. So let's return to your course. We were mentioning that you have this influencer marketing course, and we are connected on LinkedIn. This is where I first saw the image of your course, and it looks pretty cool and very professional. So with a really clear structure, and you already have amazing reviews for the course, people that are telling that it helped them so much find their way with it. So for everyone listening right now who's interested in getting this course and working additionally with you as a coach to find the way in the jungle of influencer marketing, where can we send them?
Well, the best place to go to get started is www.learninfluencermarketing.com. That's the easiest one to remember. And they can just look there, put in their email information, and they'll get 5 different tips on working with influencers, 5 things they should know before working with influencers, and they'll get additional information about the course also.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And the next question would be, because you know the whole of field and how everything is working from both sides, and you are like then the matchmaker in between and helping people to get into influencer marketing. Do you also have a book recommendation for everyone who wants to learn more about the subject?
I actually don't have a book for that particular topic, but I do have a book that I really like that I read recently that I found was tremendously helpful as a professional, and that was The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. I thought that was a really great book. I have it on Audible, and once in a while I'll just listen to it if I'm taking a walk or running or something, because it's really a mindset course. And since you mentioned mindset on some of your podcasts that I've listened to, I think that for your audience, it's really helpful. It just helps you get organized in some ways in a system format that I never thought would be in a book like that, but it was very cool to hear all the different steps of, how to get organized, and he tells it in a story format. So it's super interesting, but there are worksheets and things like that. So I really recommend that book.
That sounds cool. And you are so right, Susana. This podcast is basically about mindset and all the hacks on how to improve your mindset. And I guess from the title of the book, it has to do with getting up at 5 a.m. Am I right?
It does. And I talked to somebody about that a few weeks ago, and she says, well, you don't have to be so literal about it. Your 5 a.m. could be your 7 a.m. depending on how your life works. And she mentioned, the 5 a.m. club is, makes sense for most people because that's who industry leaders have been using that time forever, because, the workday starts at 9 a.m. here in the US. And so that's probably how they worked it backwards. But, if, let's just say you have a different schedule and you work, later in the day until later at night, you can also think about it that way. But there are several things that you should get done early in the morning, such as a good workout, journaling, meditation. And those things I have found tremendously helpful just in the last few years of getting what I need to get done to, in the morning, just really journaling out what your goals are and then looking back at them. And then at night, finishing up with a gratitude journal. It's been tremendously helpful, I think, just because you really see what's in your mind and you can decide if that's something you want to move forward with or not.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So I'm going to check this out. I always love the book recommendations of my guests because sometimes they really have cool things I haven't heard of yet. And I'm collecting books like in my own library. So really cool. Thanks for this tip here, Susana. And it was amazing to have you on the show today with this special topic about influencer marketing and also letting us know about your course. And I would love to leave the last words up to you to leave everyone who's tuned in right now in an inspired, magical state for the day. And I know you're based in LA, and I still think this is a kind of magical city where dreams come true. This is what they say. And I think it is like this. So you can share whatever you like, what comes to your mind first, or any advice you got from a mentor, coach, something you read anywhere, anything that leaves the audience really inspired for today.
I think for me, a lot of times people will say, well, how did you do that? Like, how did you get here? And I don't really think that there's a how did you get here, or how did you find out, or how did you decide this? It wasn't really a decision. It was more like every single time I've done something, it led to something else, and I just continue to do. And I think action is the magic word here. A lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about or processing what they want to do before they do it. And sometimes that takes up all their time and they don't end up doing anything at all. And my whole mantra in life is just do it. And I know that sounds trite, but honestly, if you get up in the morning and you just say, okay, I'm going to do this today, and okay, it didn't work today, I'm going to try again tomorrow, just keep going, because eventually you'll get somewhere, because you're creating actions and you're making improvements daily and you're course correcting.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me today together with Suana Yee, our influencer marketing specialist. Make sure to check out her website, get in touch when this is something interesting to you, and most of all, make sure that you get enrolled in her amazing course and learn everything there is to influencer marketing from both sides. I wish you all the best. Have a magical weekend. Talk to you next week. Until then, create some magic.